Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to Exploring Self-Mastery. I'm Peter J. Redding, and I am the visionary founder of CoreSELFtech. Today we're going to be exploring one of my favorite topics and thing I've been studying and working on for the last 25 years, and that is an actual process, step by step, to rediscover that inner core self. This may be the most significant thing that I do in my life, quite literally. And that's one of the reasons I think that I am here, is to support individuals worldwide to know who they really, really are. Not what society has labeled them, not what their parents or generations of before them have said, here's who you are supposed to be, here's what you're supposed to do, here's how you're supposed to show up in the world. But bypass that as best as I possibly can with a very simple process, elegantly simple, to support who they really are. So, welcome to the journey. All right. So, get this. There we go. All right. We're going to be talking about what I refer to process number one, CoreSELFtech discovery process. We will be going into process number two next week in terms of a self-validation process, followed by the following week with a self-alignment process, and again, followed the next 3 weeks with 3 more processes or assessments to determine, is this really me? Is this deep down inside? I may have lost it for the last 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, and reconnecting it to can be, is that really me? And I'm going to attest right now, before we even get started today, that yes, what you will discover is actually deep down inside of you. It's always been there. It was there at birth, maybe before birth. It's there now, and it's there for the rest of your life. And who knows, maybe thereafter. But in any event, there is something that is deep down inside every single human being on the planet that is brilliant, spectacular, magnificent. The guidance system of what they're here for and what to do and who they are, all of that, all combined in there. So, let's get right to it. I like quotes. I find quotes all over the place in terms of who I am, who I'm supposed to be, who I'm not. And so one of the first ones here is from Oscar Wilde, English or Irish poet. Be yourself. Everyone else is already taken. I love that one. It talks to the uniqueness of who we are, and basically the choice is that the life that I'm living is my own? Or am I trying to emulate, simulate, placate somebody else outside of me to live a life that is, frankly, not mine to live? So I love Oscar. God bless you. Oscar's in heaven, I think, right now. Be yourself. Yeah. Now, my version of that is to be your core self. It is the only self that can provide you true fulfillment. Now think about that. If I am trying to be somebody else, if I am trying to live a life that has been defined for me, dictated for me by something outside of me, and for good, yeah, and again, then my parents didn't wake up every morning and say, okay, so what can we do to screw up Peter? And he needs therapy at 35, right? They weren't like that. They wanted the best for me. They wanted me to have things that they were not able to have, or obtain things that they were not able to obtain in their lifetime. And I know that for sure. I just know that. And so they too are smiling down at me. Hi, Mom and Dad. I'm doing good. But be your core self. And that's the distinction. It comes from the inside. It has been put there by your creator. It's been put there by your divine. It's been put there by something other than myself. And it's been endowed to me, into me, for me. All right. Let's keep going on here. So, step-by-step process today. There are 3 pages, and these pages, you can access these things now on CoreSELFie.com. If you have access to that right now, you can go to the website. We ask you for your email address so that we can actually email it to you, and you can access the first of these six processes. It's 3 pages. I'm going to ask that you not go on to page 2 and 3 until we've completed page 1. So there's a sequence that will serve you and your discovery process. And I'm going to invite you to just look at page 1 if you actually have it printed out in front of you. But I've got it here in my slides, so there's no need to do that. You can do that afterwards if you'd like. So the 9 steps. Step 1. I'm going to get right at it. Bring to mind your all-time favorite pet or animal. It could be from childhood. It could be one that you have now. It could be a friend's pet or it could be an animal from the wild. But just pick one animal. The one that you just seem to resonate with. It could be, like I say, it could be a pet. It could be a dog from the time that you were 15 years old. Could be a cat that's in the house now that you dearly love. It could be a zebra. It could be a wild animal. And I want you to start thinking about that animal in terms of the qualities, the life-affirming qualities that you categorically love about this animal. And what I mean by a quality is its sense of serenity, its peace, its energeticness, its connectedness. All the kinds of those are kind of qualities that an animal might have. I'm not saying that yours does, but it might. And second of all, that it's life-affirming. It's life-generative. It brings life to itself and to those things around it. Okay? So I'm going to give you a minute or so to think about that. For those that just came in late, we're looking at an animal or a pet that you have now or that you have had or that you have an affinity for. What are 5 of the qualities, life-affirming qualities that this has? And just write them down on a piece of paper in front of you. And call that step 1, because we'll be referring to this as we go into the other 8 steps. So just put step 1 and then 5 words. Not a description, just 5 words. Like I say, connectedness, caring, energetic. What kinds of qualities does this animal have that you just admire? And again, that are life-affirming. Another 30 seconds. We'll go on to step 2 here in about 15 seconds. All right. Step 2. If you were one thing in nature, what would it be? I would be a rainbow. I would be a tree. Mine is a banyan tree. I love trees, so mine would be a banyan tree specifically. Now I'd write that down here on 2A, and just again put on your own piece of paper there. Step 2, 2A. What is it in nature? It could be a lake. It could be a cloud. Could be a star. Again, it could be an animal of something in nature. Something in nature that you have an affinity for. You have a connection to. Could be my local forest. It could be a grove of trees. It could be a bird. It could be a palm tree. I'm just looking out my window here and see what's there. You know where I'm at. Once you've picked a thing in nature, I want you to imagine that you are that thing in nature, that you are that tree, you are that bird, you are that lake, you are that stream, you are that ocean, you are that star, whatever you picked out. This thing in nature, its biggest contribution to its environment is to what? And I'm looking for like 4 to 10 words here. What's its contribution to its environment or to its world? An example for the banyan tree that I love and that I would be in nature would be I provide safe space for things to flourish. That would be what I would attribute to that banyan tree. Now, it could be a thousand other things. It doesn't have to be that one, obviously, because it's for you to figure out, not me. So what's the thing in nature that you have an affinity for? And what does it contribute to its environment? What's its biggest contribution? If it has 10 different things you can think of, pick out the one that is at the top of the list. So you might even write down 4 or 5 or 6 things that it contributes, look at them, and then circle the one that's its biggest contribution to its environment. And label those again 2A and 2B. Step 2. Just write them down. I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to kind of contemplate that, articulate that. About another half a minute. If you're thinking about more things that it contributes, that's fine. Write them down. And at the end of this time, just circle one of those as the biggest, most significant, most important contribution that thing in nature contributes to its environment. And very succinctly, in like 4 to 10 words. This is not a paragraph. Okay, we're going to move on to step 3. Step 3. I'm going to invite you to recall the last 4 or 5 times when someone has said to you, "Wow, Peter, I wish I could do that as easily and as joyously as you seem to do it." Okay? Now, obviously, it wouldn't be Peter, it would be you. But what have people said the last 4 or 5 times that they've shared something along those lines? What were they referring to that you were doing? You were writing, you were speaking, you were inspiring, you were what you were cooking, you were leading, you were whatever you were doing. Okay, 5 things. Put them down again under step 3 on your own note paper in front of you. Step 3. 5 things that people have shared or commented on. Wow, I wish I could do that as easily and as joyously as you seem to do it. What's the it? What's the thing that they're referring to? Write those 5 things down. And it could also be things like make people laugh, make people think, make people reflect. I mean, so it could be those kinds of things that just make, you know, you make people feel comfortable. Um, or again, it could be an action item. Um, like you put things together so quickly, you know, like connecting the dots. What do you do so easily and effortlessly and joyously that people have commented on that about you? 5 things. Another 25 seconds on this one. All right, very good. Now you'll notice at the bottom of this slide it says only go to page 2 after completing all of page 1. So in the tangible version of this that you can again download at CoreSELFie.com, and it's process number 1, self-discovery process. There's 3 pages that you'll print out, and it's important that if you're doing this with somebody else or having you're doing this with a group, only give them page 1 initially so that they complete this without, if you will, peeking or going forward or spoiling the process by going to page 2 and 3. So that's what that note is for, and this is exactly a 100% replica of what that page is going to look like, you know, word for word, just a photocopy of it. All right, so now we've completed page 1, and let me just check in here and check the chat box and say, just put in there done, so that I know that you're page 1 done. Just say page 1 done, so I can get a feel for if people are keeping up or if you need more time. Page 1 done. Thank you. Charles, thank you. Rajiv, thank you. Neelam, thank you. Rajiv, another Rajiv. Harmony, thank you. Arshana, thank you. Okay, good. Francine, got it. All right, so everybody seems to be getting done with page 1. We're going to go on to page 2 now, which is moving from step 3 now to step 4. Okay, so step 4 is to write down the things that you'd written down for step 1. These are the 5 things that are the life-affirming qualities of an animal, a pet, something that you admire. The difference here is I want you to put them in an order or a sequence. I want you to rewrite them down now. Put step 4 on your own page, your own paper, your own notebook, your own journal. And what's the most significant one that you want to put on top? What's the most significant quality of that particular animal that you just love them for it? You so admire. It's just it's like cream on top of an old bottle of milk, right? It just raises to the top. What's the number 1? What's the second most important one for you? Third, fourth, and fifth. So just kind of order them 1 through 5. Write them down in a thing that's called step 4. And this goes pretty quick. This will start speeding up the process here because you've done your reflection during 1, 2, and 3. This one is just going to be processing 1, 2, and 3 information just a little bit. So this comes from step 1. Most important one on top, number 1, and then the second, third, fourth, and fifth. Just rewrite it. re-script it. Now, as you're also looking at this, I want you to take a look and make sure that they are life-affirming. Life-affirming. There's a sense of positive generation. There's a sense of affirmation. There's a sense of upliftment that each of these 5 things have. If it's the opposite of that, then what's the reciprocal? In other words, what's the opposing? If this is a not life-affirming, right? It's life-limiting, if you will. Then what would be the life-affirming opposite of that particular characteristic? Give you another 15 seconds or so just to keep those in order, and if you need to re-script one of them to the life-affirming side of it, then so be it. Do that now. And just, I'm going to send a note to Cello here that is admitting people. If you could stop admitting anybody hereafter, Cello, and I'm doing this for their purpose because we're going to be getting into part of this process that I don't want them to know about before they do page 1. Okay, so don't admit anybody else into the room. And for those of you that are just coming in on Facebook Live, I'm going to ask you to, again, not listen to the rest of this. This sounds counterintuitive for a live event, but for your purposes, I'm going to encourage you to not listen to the rest of this right now. We will be sending this out. It's being recorded live on Facebook so that you can start from the beginning when you have the time to do that. Or on YouTube, it'll be posted, the recording on that as well. So it's... yeah, you'll get 10 times, 100 times the value of this by starting with step 1 as opposed to coming in at step 4 or 5. Or not. You have the choice. All right, let's go on to step 5. Good. All right, so step 5 is a little bit more tricky. But not much. It's not hard. I am, and there's a blank there that has one word on it. The one word will come from the thing that you just did in step 4, and I'm going to go back to that right now. So the one word that you've written up there in the yellow highlighted, where it says this will be used in step 5, take that one word, that quality of that animal that you had thought about earlier, that one word, and I want you to put it into, let me see if I can get my cursor here, yeah, right here. So that blank line is for that one word that comes from step 4, number 1, which is indicated here. This quality comes from step 4 above. The number 1 highest quality, life-affirming quality, just write that in. So on your, if you're working with a blank piece of paper or a journal, just put I am, draw a line, and then on top of that line that you just drew, put that word that came from that step 4. All right, moving on your sheet, then I want you to write, after you've written that one quality word, life-affirming quality word, the words in order to, and then put another longer line there. You'll see it on this slide is a green long line here. It says 4 to 10 words. Right here. This comes from 2B on the first page. So step 2B was that contribution that your thing in nature made to its environment. I want you to go back to 2B and write that in on this line right after the words in order to. And it may not make sense. It may not be grammatically correct. It might not even sound like an English sentence. But just trust me. Just write it for whatever it is, 4 to 10 words of that contribution. And so now on your worksheet or your journal, step 5 is going to read, I am blank, and that blank line is filled in with the one quality word from step 4 above, your highest life-affirming quality that came from your animal or pet, followed by in order to, and then 4 to 6 words that is a short description of the thing in nature's biggest contribution to its environment. And you wrote that out on step 2, letter B. When you've got a statement, even if it doesn't make sense right now, and that's okay because we're going to go into another step before we finish this up today, and you can do some wordsmithing. But when you've completed step 5, just put step 5 done. Step 5 done. Step 5 done. And in the chat box. Okay, so I'm starting to see them streaming in here. I see Kari. Hi, Kari. Good to see you. Francine. Rajinish. Super. Looks like we got some more people that are still working on it. So I am blank line in order to blank line. The 2 blank lines, the first one gets filled in with the top life-affirming quality in step 4. It's one that's in like, on the screen it was a yellow highlight. But it's the top one that you've said is the most important one that you resonate with. The second line is filled in with your the thing in nature's contribution, 4 to 10 words. Okay. Let's move on. Okay, so step 6, you just rewrite the words that you've written in step 3. Just bring those words into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can put them in priority if you'd like. It's not necessary, but you can put those 2 in a priority list of, what's the most significant one that you just most love doing. There's a sense of timelessness that comes with that, perhaps. Write those in, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And these all come from step 3 from the previous page. And again, if you're facilitating this with a group and you're actually handing out pages, you're still holding back page 3 at this stage, waiting for everybody in the room or everybody in the group or everyone in the Zoom room to complete with step 3. Step 6 on page 2. 5 things I do easily and joyously. In fact, as you're writing them down, there's probably a smile on your face. That's a good check to see. Yep, I really do love doing my woodworking. In my case, I love doing woodworking. I love creating. I love explaining complicated things in a simple way. Hopefully hopefully you're experiencing that. Even if it's confusing right now, which is intended to be, by the way. Okay, so this is just cut and paste, rewrite, take from step 3, putting them into step 6. All right, so let's go to step 7. Step 7. Again, so copy the 5 words that you have in step 4 now in the same sequence. Or you can just take a look at what you have written in step 4, actually, and right above that list on your sheet, my top 5 life affirming core values. You don't have to write the words down again. You can just write that word on top of step 4. Whoops. I'm moving it, and I didn't want to be moving it. My top 5 life-affirming core values. And in parentheses, I want you to write, my most authentic way of being. My most authentic way of being. And absorb the significance of these 5 words as it relates to you personally, you internally. A great way to look at these is that when I am being, now we're not talking about the animal anymore, we're talking about you. When I am being 1, whatever the 1 is for you, 2, 3, 4, and 5, I am showing up as my most authentic self. I'll give you the logic behind this, the science behind this, and all that in a minute. But I want you to just absorb the significance of that revelation. Wow. These are my most authentic, powerful, core values deep down inside of me that have been there for life, that have been there at birth. They're there now. I may be honoring all of those now. I may not be. That's a different topic. We'll get into that before we end the session today. But these are my most authentic way of being as a human being. Let that sink in. Type something in the chat box at this stage. Just say, holy cow, wow. How can that possibly be? It's kind of a visceral reaction to discovering, and I'm going to say rediscovering your most authentic self. Just one word or two in the chat box. Carrie's saying, I have some new core values. That does not surprise me. But they feel very true to me. Yep. Yeah. Some of these things have been buried for a long time. Some of these things have been not recognized, not honored, perhaps. Or they were, and when they were, then you were having a great day. You were feeling really good about life. Okay, let's move on. Step 8. Step 8. Put above the statement that you wrote out in step 5, or you can do a wordsmithing right now and make it into a comprehensible statement. I am, from step 5 on the previous page, in order to, again from step 5 on the previous page. All right? And you can put above this statement, this is my life purpose. This is my life purpose statement. This is my highest calling that guides my path to fulfillment. There's 2 parts to this. The first part of it, the I am blank, that part is my core identity. My core identity. It's what I stand for. It's who I am. It answers the question, who am I? Who am I? I mean, that is an existential question that every conscious human being has during a lifetime, if they live long enough. Who am I? That's the answer. I am whatever you've written there. The second part, in order to, is the most important way that I contribute to my world. The most important way that I contribute to my world is contained within that second part in order to what? In order to accomplish what? In order to do what? In order to be what? Whatever is in that last 4 to 10 words. Now, we're going to spend a little bit more time on this one because there's a couple of other elements in here in terms of wordsmithing. Number one is, let me move over here just a bit. This is going to be true for every single role that you play in life. This is not contained just to being a mom. This is not just contained in being a visionary. This is not contained in just being an executive or a teacher or a trainer or an artist or whatever role that you happen to play in life, or the different roles that you play at different parts of life. So if there's any words in there that restrict this down to one role or one stage of life, change it so that it can apply to all stages of life, in all roles. If it says, I am the mother of my children, then you can say, I bring the mother energy to the world of children. This is expansive, broad-based, and in your world, your world might be your community. Your world might be your village. Your world might be your immediate family, or it could be the globe. All of this is in the present tense. So if it says I am going to be, or I will eventually be, or I would like to be, take those words out and convert it back to a present moment. Okay? So we're wordsmithing this now to a present tense and applicable to all stages of life and to all the roles that you might play during life. And like I say, right above it, this is my life purpose statement, my highest calling that guides my path to fulfillment. The first part of it, the I am statement, is my core identity. And the second part is the most important thing I'm here to contribute to my world. All right. When you've completed with this and wordsmithed it, I want you to write in the chat box, if you would, the life purpose. Wow. My life purpose. Holy cow. My life purpose, brilliant. My life purpose, let me get at it. Whatever you have in mind, just put life purpose something, just so I know that you've completed with this step number 8. So I'm not seeing anything in the chat box yet. So is that frozen, Cello, or is there something happening on Zoom that we're... Oh, there we go. Step 8 done. Wow, thank you. There we go. Rajneesh, thank you. Neelam, thank you, thank you. Okay, now I'm starting to coming. They're streaming in. Fantastic. Fantastic. Thank you, Kari. All right. Let's go on to the final step of number 9. So far we have my core values. Woohoo! Yeah, my way of being. I have articulated my life purpose statement in terms of who I am and why am I here? How does my life make a difference? So all of those questions get answered with life purpose. And the final step 9 is in step 6. And if you're doing this on a piece of paper, just go back to step 6 and write on the top of it, my top 5 natural gifts and talents. My top 5 natural gifts and talents. The tools and skills that are required for me to fulfill my, guess what, life purpose. My top 5 natural gifts and talents. You can call these your core strengths. You can call these your God-given gifts and talents. Anything that you want to say about that is accurate. And these are the tools and skills that are required for me to be able to fulfill my life purpose. So if you look at this in its totality, your life purpose is at the central part of this scenario, right, that we just defined in step 8. And then I've been given or endowed 2 sets of things to support me to accomplish that life purpose. A way of being, my core values, my deep down core values. And second of all, a toolbox, if you will, of natural gifts and talents for me to accomplish my life purpose. And this is the first step. The first step is knowing, and it's a huge step. And it's recalibrating from who I have been programmed to be, what I've been programmed or learned or forced to learn to be able to do, to be able to accomplish somebody else's purpose. Now, I'm not saying that every purpose that I've been given to do by my parents, by my educators, by my society, by my gender, by my nationality, by all the things that have impacted that, by my organizations that I've worked for, are bad or evil or are not good. That's not true. What is true for me is that most of my life, well, I'll say the first half of my life, was dictated by what others wanted from me or wanted me to do. And so I was told what to do. And I wanted to be a good little boy, so I did what my parents told me to do because they reminded me time and again, we know better, Peter. And they probably did. Because they were 20 years older than I was, or 22 years older than I was. But ultimately, I needed to figure out who I was. And it's, again, that who am I? Why am I here? How does my life make a difference? That I had to figure out on my own. And I had to reconnect with something that was deep down inside of me, which this little exercise has done now. I've used this exercise, or a version of this exercise, for the last 25 years. The first one was much longer, and I still train my professional coaches to go through that with their clients. This is an abbreviated process. If I wasn't explaining the whole thing and you were just going through this on your own or taking somebody else through it, it'd probably take you 10 minutes to do this or for them to do it. And I've been doing this now for the last 8 or 9 years with amazing, spectacular success to shine a light on that inner core being, that inner core, who they are, who they're meant to be. All right, so let's move on. You'll see this at the bottom of page 3 on your download. Congratulations, you've just completed what thousands of people have described as life-changing and life-defining exercise. Please pass this on to everyone you care about. And I really do mean that. You have permission is granted to copy this document, provided the document is not altered and it is not shared, and it is shared for free. No charge, pro bono, give it away. Peter J. Redding, Visionary Founder. That's me. And you'll support me in my purpose of getting this into the hands of the first billion people by 2025. And hopefully the rest of the population shortly thereafter. Because I believe every human being has the right to understand and know who they really are and why they're really here. So please spread the word. I've had corporations use this for onboarding new employees. I've had this being used in organizations to identify their own brand, their own the individual's brand. This has gone into nonprofits. This has gone into school systems. This has gone into NGOs. So please, please, please use all of this to support your family members, your loved ones, people that you work with, to know who they really are. And then based on this, they can make better decisions about what they want to go forward with. Yeah. So what are your results? Let's have a couple of you share in the chat box if you would. Just what's come out of this? What are the results, and or what have you learned about yourself in this short exercise today? And if you could just type that in the chat box, I'd love to be able to read it out loud so that those of the people that are on Facebook can know and hear that through my voice. Give you a minute or so to type it in the chat box. What are your results from this? What have you learned? Or what's been reinforced? So Kari's got actual life purpose statement. I am brave in order to provide a means for people to connect, trade, and travel. Wow. Brilliant. Stunning. And my guess is that you've been doing that since you were 5 years old in some form or fashion. And you'll do it at 105 years old, when you get to be that age. And everything in between. Somehow, everything you do will be connected to that life purpose. I continue to evolve and uncover new layers to get closer to my true self. Yeah, I love that concept of true self, original self, core self, all the same for me. Divine self, all this work for me. I am fun in order to refresh people. Lord knows we need more of that in the world, so thank you for that. Thank you for that. Woohoo! Anjali says, I got to rediscover myself and understand the importance of living my own life. Yeah, or my life. I stuck in own. Hallelujah. Can you imagine a world that everyone is living their own life and not telling everybody else how to live? I mean, can you imagine that? I am happy with my own life, and I'm doing my own life, and I'm contributing to my world through living my life purpose and being my authentic self. Wow. World peace overnight. True. I thought I loved something, laughing, partying, etc. But my core identity is calm. Interesting. I am calm to contribute to by providing life-sustaining qualities to everyone. Fantastic. Again, there's something that is very life-affirming and life-generating in every human being. I believe that, even for the most egregious violators of that. Deep down, there is a core self, a divine self, an original self that is life-affirming. And I can get into philosophical conversations with you in terms of why people don't demonstrate that all the time or are contrary to that. And but not for today's conversation. We picked that up in another conversation, but I have philosophies around that I personally contribute to that hatred that seeps into somebody's psyche, beingness, when they're not strong enough or know themselves well enough. And that's why I'm so dedicated to people knowing the real self, the true self. Rajni says, I am helpful in order to bring smile and ecstasy in people's lives. Perfect. Exactly perfect. Core identity, helpful. And my sense is that you're probably that in every part of life. It always has been. It's just come so naturally to you because guess what? It is natural to you. And bringing smile and ecstasy to people's lives, again, you can do that as a parent, you can do that as a sibling, you can do that as an executive, you can do that as a worker, wherever you work. You can bring that to your neighbors as you're going down and getting groceries. It oozes out of each of us our own life purpose. We can't help but being ourselves, and to be aware of it and now focus on it more specifically to bring it into all the parts of our life. So like I say, the knowing part, this is what we're talking about today, the knowing part. The next piece of what we're going to be talking about is how do you apply that? How do you verify that? In the last 5 minutes, I'm going to share a little bit. Let me go see if there's any more here. Charles, rich blessing. Thanks, Peter. I felt extremely nice doing this exercise and revisiting our core values. Very reassuring. Thank you for that. Thank you. Now, some of the reactions. Well, let me talk about this real briefly. Why is this? How and why this works is that it's self-selected words. You selected every word that you've written down, not me. You identify with images, and the world is a reflection. In other words, it's autobiographical. And when I look at an animal, I identify with the things that are important to me. When I look at a landscape, I relate to things that are important to me. Same thing in nature. So this is a way to bypass the linear, programmed, conditioned mind, come in underneath what I call under the radar, and have people identify with things that, frankly, don't speak as best as I can. The banyan tree did not speak to me. Well, it does in an ethereal way, I suppose, but it doesn't give me the words or the contribution that I attribute to that. So since it's so deeply autobiographical and it comes from a deep part of my beingness, that's why it's so powerful. That's why it's so accurate. I can access that good, deep, aligned naturalness within me as opposed to assessing it. So I use the word access with a very deliberate meaning. I can access that which has always been within me, that has been placed there by, again, and you can use your word for it. You can use mine, spirit, divine presence, guidance. That's why this is so powerful. This is why it works. Now, there's some people that'll say, oh yeah, but I've been looking for my life purpose all my life. I've been spending the last 25 years searching for this. Oh, let me go back. Just one quickie. Available for free at www.coresel.com. CoreSELFie, SELFIE, like a selfie, like a selfie picture. Only this is like taking a picture from the inside out. CoreSELFie.com. All right. And in the last 2 minutes here, talk a little bit about some other reactions that I get from doing this exercise that people have been searching desperately and deliberately in terms of figuring out who they are. What's my life purpose? Who am I? Why am I here? How does my life make a difference? How does my life make a positive difference? If so, how, why, and how do I access that? And doing a search of YouTube and other places on the internet, there's some ridiculous ones of that fall short. I'll just say fall short, to be kind. So, how do I know that this is really real for me? How do I know that this is significant for me? How do I know that this is accurate for me? I have a self-administered validation process that we're going to go through again, step by step, next week. That will be available on CoreSELFie.com. It's not there yet, but it will be after next week's live stream. That basically proof positive that this is valid for you. And again, you use your words. You use the circumstances that I'm going to have you choose. I don't dictate that to you. I have a spectacular Excel spreadsheet that you'll fill in with the information that you gained today with some additional things. And we'll see if it's valid for you. Because if you don't think it's valid, then you're going to reject it and then go back to being whoever you are expected to be. And that would be a shame. Yeah. So with that, I am going to sign off. Thank you so much for your focus. Thank you for wanting to know who you really are and be that in the world. The world needs more of your core self. Let me repeat that. The world needs more of your core self, not your conditioned self or programmed self. It needs more of who you really are in all of your grandeur. Yeah, know thyself. Thank you, Charles. God bless. Namaste. Stay safe. See you next week.